Welcome. And in this video, we're going to talk about the O of 1 constant time in details. We're going to cover examples. So first of all, what is the O of 1 constant time? So the O of 1 constant time complexity algorithm means that it takes a constant amount of time regardless the input. And this is the most important one. The algorithm's runtime does not depend on input size. Now come the big question. How do I identify if an algorithm is an O of 1? Or what are the examples of an O of 1 algorithm? The first example of an O of 1 algorithm is math operation. The math operation, addition, multiplication, and rest, they are all O of 1 algorithm. The second example you have is accessing an element via its index in an array. Okay, if we have an array that has value and want to access the first item in the first index, that process is O of 1 algorithm. Another example is accessing a value from hash table using its key. That process is O of 1 algorithm. Now let us see some of these code example. So guys, I am currently on my VS Code and you can see I have created a file constant time, and we want to look at some few example like code example of O of 1. So what I'll do, the first one is the sum of two numbers, right? So I'm going to create a function and I'll call it sum two numbers, and this is going to take two numbers. So I'm going to call it num1 and num2. So what this will do is to return the sum of that two number. So we're gonna do num1 plus num2. Okay, so what we'll do is to invoke this function. All right, so we can call our num1 will be equal to 23 and num2 will be equal to 45. So we're gonna get the result and we call the sum two numbers. Okay, I misspelled this. I'll correct it. So I'm going to pass in my first num and the num2. Okay, probably let me rename this as num2, num1 rather. Then let me also rename the function sum two numbers. All right, so when we get our result, I want to print out the result on the console. All right, so I'm going to run this code. You can see we'll get the result on the console. So this algorithm you are seeing here is O of 1. So the process of returning the sum of two numbers is what? O of 1. Of 1. Okay, so let us look at another example. Another example we want to look at is odd or even. We want to write an algorithm that returns, that check if a number is odd or if a number is even. So if it is odd, it should return, sorry, if it is even, right, it should return true. Then if it is odd, it should return false. Okay, let's do that quickly. Is even, and it takes a number. So what this does is we're going to check if the number can be divided without a remainder. To check that, we're going to use the modulus. If the number is divided by 2 without a remainder, right, so we want to return true, it means that is an even number. Otherwise, we should just return false. So I'm going to invoke this function. Is odd or is even, rather. Sorry, I misspelled it. I'm going to correct it. So I'm going to pass the number 45. So what I will do is to print my result on the console. Result 2. Okay, so I'm going to save and run this program. And you can see it returns false. So it means this is an even number. But the takeaway here is what this function is doing, right, is O of 1. All right, so we have given two examples, right? O of what? 1. So let us look at the last one, which is get element in an array. Get element in an array at a particular position. So let me get the first element in an array. Okay, so I'm going to call that function get first element, and this is going to take an array. What I will do is I'm going to check if the length of the array is greater than 0, because I don't want to return an item in an array that is empty. So if that is possible, so what I will do is to return the first element at index 0. Otherwise, I'm going to return none. So let us invoke this function. Okay, so result 3. So we need a list. We can pass it here directly or declare it as a variable. So I will just prefer to pass it here directly. Okay, sorry guys, let me just make it a variable. So I'm going to print the result on the console. All right, so I'm going to run this code and we're going to see the result. You can see the first element in the array is 4. You can see these 3 programs we've written so far, they are all O of 1. Okay, so these are a clear example of an algorithm that is O of 1. So guys, thank you very much for watching. The next video we want to talk about is the O log n. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.